Good evening, everybody. Super happy to see that we already have about 8 people waiting. Oh, now we have 9. So I think a few more people will be joining us this evening. Welcome to today's webinar on enhanced practice. All your questions will be answered here today. I'm really happy to have Louise today with us. I know the flyer did say Rona, but she's not here with us today due to other circumstances. But Louise will be able to do a pretty good job at explaining everything that we need to know. Right, so some housekeeping. This session is being recorded, as always, and because this particular session webinar is very useful for anyone, whether you're a BAPL member or non-BAPL member, it will be made available on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch it, share it with colleagues if it helps them make a decision with what they're going to do with enhanced practice. So if you have any questions, Lewis has put together a brief presentation. Wait till the end of that and then put your questions either into the chat or you could raise your hand and we will let you speak. So with that being said, I will quickly introduce Louise, who is a senior lecturer and the Directorate Lead for Learning and Teaching across Allied and Public Health in the School of Health and Society, with roles including leading on implementation of Universal Design for Learning, and she's also the project lead for Enhanced Practice. And with that, I open up the floor.
Thanks very much, Christabel. Really appreciate that introduction and really lovely to see you tonight on this tea time talk. So I am one of a big team and I'm just going to give a shout out to my other colleagues who are already here. If you can pop your cameras on and have a wave. We have got the infamous Peter Iliff, who is part of our enhanced practice team. There he is in all his glory, and Gwen as well. Give us a wave, Gwen, and we'll go through how all the team sits together. So for you tonight, we've got 3 of us, and this is registering the importance of this project with you. So I'm going to talk about enhanced practice. We're going to talk about what it is and try and get to the bottom of that, and so everybody has an understanding of that. We're going to talk about the NHS England Commission that we've got. We're part of a project who are launching this nationally. And I say NHS England, but NHS England are acutely aware that P&O need to be looked after across all 4 regions, all 4 nations. So we're very much inclusive of all 4 nations within this project. And we're going to talk about the University of Salford's enhanced practice offer, which is a PGCert. Please feel free, let's make this informal, but I'm going to start us off by just talking about what enhanced practice is. And it's a level of practice. And we've had discussions about this earlier today, Peter and Gwen and I. And I just want you to just have a little look at that diagram there. And this is a diagram from NHS England. And this is really showing our career journeys as allied health professions. So we've got supportive level, we've got assistive level. I'm assuming that most people tonight on the call will be graduates in prosthetics and orthotics. So you've done your degree, you start your learning journey and you come into this preceptorship or foundation level of practice. You're new and you're just gathering speed and getting familiar with your profession. And then we also have heard a lot about advanced practice and consultant practice, and they are again levels of practice which you can have a role in. Okay, we know that there are roles in these, but this trajectory, there's never been this middle space where vast majority of our AHP workforce sit. We've never called it anything before. So there's people working at this level of practice. It might be you, it might be your colleagues. And that is about looking at capability development. You start choosing your area of practice and really becoming familiar and autonomous and developing your skills in decision making. You get specialist knowledge in your area of practice and you start to look and develop complex case management at an enhanced level. That is somewhere where you can stay at this level of practice and have employment with NHS, through private provider, etc. Or you can go on further to be advanced level practice or consultant level practice. So each of these levels of practice have distinct sort of areas. So let's just think about what it is and what it isn't. Enhanced practice isn't a new job role or a title. So we're not anticipating seeing people called an enhanced practitioner in, or I'm going to be a prosthetist who is a specialist in enhanced practice of. That's not what we're going to see. So it's not going to be a new job or a role title. It's not about the number of years or the times that you've got in practice. So it's not about you've been doing it for this long, therefore I am an enhanced level practice and I'm working at that level. It's also not a fixed end point for your career. So this is a middle space where people can absolutely stay, but they might want to go on to be working in an advanced level practice role or a consultant level role. And something else that you won't find in any of the documentation, it's not linked to a gender for change banding. So this is not I'm a band 6 or a band 7 and therefore I am an enhanced practitioner or I should be working at enhanced level practice. What it is it's a level of practice. So we need to get really good in our culture of AHPs at talking about level of practice, not just roles. And it absolutely is applicable across all 4 pillars. And I'm sure you're all aware, but just to remind us, this is not just about clinical practice. It's about education pillar, it's about research pillar, and it's about leadership pillar. And we know we need to develop those through all AHPs in P&O to make sure we have those skills to be future leaders, to be future educators, and to be future researchers, even if you're not doing primary research. It is context and profession specific. So we also know that at postgraduate level, when we're looking for courses for AHPs, we know that a lot of them are very generic. There's not much availability for P&Os at that postgraduate level to do further training. And this needs to be really driven through a profession specific lens. So you should be studying all about your profession and your area of practice. What it is it's work-based learning. So this is something that you should be able to do in your workplace and develop and see those skills going back into your workplace, into your professional development and into your service delivery. And we're delighted to say it is funded through the Growth and Skills Levy. And for those of you who don't know, that's a name change. It's the apprenticeship pot of money that the government have. And we know the government are really driving apprenticeship funding. So it's fully funded through the Growth and Skills Levy. And this will help to provide training pathways to improve equity of access. We know sometimes people don't get offered this in an equitable way, and that's really important. We really need to be mindful that our professions are grown in an equitable way. So there are 2 routes through enhanced practice. So if we think this is an enhanced practice PGCert, which is 60 credits, and I'll talk about what that means in the PGCert in a minute, you can either go down the apprenticeship route, which is fully funded through the government's levy, and that your company or yourself can access that through either your trust or the company, and we can again pick questions up about that if you're not sure. Or it can be self-funded or funded through other monies like CPD monies. There's an apprenticeship and a non-apprenticeship route. Both of those things come out with exactly the same qualification. It doesn't even say any different on the qualification as a PGCert. And those people will be sitting side by side in a virtual or face-to-face classroom, depending on what you choose to do. And those routes are just different in terms of their funding and some of their requirements for work-based learning. So at the University of Salford, we are delighted that we have won this commission with NHS England to support the delivery and get this really off the ground and embedded into practice, offer people like yourselves the opportunities to get on this PGCert and really be trailblazers for prosthetics and orthotics. So we're leading the curriculum development for prosthetics and orthotics and also podiatry, physiotherapy and diagnostic radiography. What this means for us and for you, it means that we have this fabulous, huge team who are here to handhold you and support you through this programme, support mentors, support your organisations to really deliver this and ensure we embed it for our future professions and for your career pathways. So we've got a whole team here who are working to support just this project. So there's me as project lead. There's Sophie, who is our apprenticeship lead. She is everything that is expertise about apprenticeship. So all the details that you need to know, your employer needs to know, she links in with our university team of all things important around apprenticeships and has got all those expertise. There's a physio lead, there's a podiatry lead, 2 leads who are sharing that. There's a diagnostic radiography lead. And then we've got Rona and Peter, who is our expert here in the P&O team. And we've also got clinical link tutors. Gwen is a clinical link tutor for P&O, who is the bridge between us as academics, and so is Peter as well, in terms of that outreach work and really making sure that we bridge into practice. So as you can see, for a PG cert, this is a big team. We're here to support you, to have conversations, to do outreach work, work with your employers, work with your services to support you through this. So as well as the PG cert, which I'm going to go through in a little bit more detail in a moment, we've also got 3 strands that we're going to be looking at throughout this project in the next 12 months. One of them is scoping what's needed. So what do people need in the workplace? What do people need to get this up and running, to get people on the programme, to help support this? The second bit is support. When we know what people need, we're going to put that support in place. So it's important that you engage with us and have these conversations. And we're going to be doing outreach work in terms of roadshows. So you're going to see comms coming out at the end of this week. Christabel will be getting those and she'll be putting them out to everybody, and they'll be going up on the BAPO website hopefully, and might get those through your workplace as well. We're going to be doing roadshows, getting out to places to see you face to face, to have meetings, to understand what we need to do in order to make this land for you. So we'll put resources in place. We're also going to be developing communities of practice. How can we make this sustainable? How can we make sure that all our future P&Os are going to be understanding their career frameworks, understanding when they start, they want to look at and aspire to do enhanced level practice, to develop across all 4, possibly go on to advanced practice and consultant practice. And that needs to be an option for you and your profession. So let's talk about the PG cert. This is what we want to engage you with. This is what we want to get you onto to develop your skills and improve your career pathways. It's a 230 credit module. The first module is around what we call Foundations of Enhanced Practice. It's 30 credits and it equates to 8 days. And those 8 days are spread over from this September 2025. And those 8 days of learning finish in approximately end of April next year. That module is all around principles of leadership, research and education. And we know at the moment that these pillars are not being driven through P&O. And we need you as leaders of the future to sustain your profession. So we need to underpin skills of leadership. How do you build a leadership? What are your leadership styles? Do you know how to do audit? Do you know how to do service evaluation? Do you know how to do quality improvement? Can you embed that into your service? Do you know about PDSA cycles, for example? So those are the things that will be taught on programme. We also need people to engage in research. And by research, I don't mean you're going off and doing a randomised control trial. What I mean is, can you critically engage, search the literature, know how to embed that into your clinical practice and find best practice guidelines? Are you evidence-based driven in your work? Can you appraise critical tools and so on and so forth? And education. We know there is a desperate capacity shortage in educators, and people at this level of practice are the people who need to have students, our undergraduates, to keep the profession going and join this up. So you need to be empowered to understand what is pedagogy, what's hertagogy, what's universal design for learning. Are you feeling empowered and secure to have students, to really use those students as part of your service and to provide feedback and understand how to adapt your education styles to have different types of learners? Can you work and look at doing different models of supervision, for example? So that's that module. Okay, and that's what we'll be looking to deliver in that module. And the second module is based around the clinical pillar. So again, this is developing enhanced practice, and it's all around the clinical pillar. And again, that's 8 days of learning. And I'm just going to look at that in a little bit more detail, that clinical module. Because what we've tried to do here is really understand what's needed in service for you in your area of practice. This needs to shout prosthetics, or it needs to shout orthotics to you. So there's some things that are generic. The day 1, 2 and 3, that's mandatory. And everybody would be doing that. That's around things around communication styles, making sure that you can communicate across professions, across patient groups, enabling your communication styles to develop. It's also around things like governance, risk, safeguarding, the things that you need in your practice every day. And then day 3 is around anatomy and pathophysiology. What are your key things that you need to be ensuring that you're upskilled with? And then days 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, we have a list of bespoke options at the University of Salford. Lots of different things that you might come on. It might be gait analysis. You might want to dib in here, Peter and Gwen, and help me out. But lots of different options that you can choose from, that you can pick and choose as like a bespoke nature. Or you might look at our list at the University in Salford and say, well, I've got a couple of days there that would really fit with what I need to study and learn and become better at in my clinical practice. But actually, there's some things that I need to do that are really specific in my practice that perhaps would be better suited as work-based learning. And so what this gives you is flexibility to say, actually, I need to work with somebody who's an expert in this. It might be at your place of work. It might be, thanks, Gwen. It might be it might be going to a specialist centre or working with another profession. And that can be bespoke to what you need it to be. You'll do that learning and then you'll bring it back to university, to us at university, and we will quality assure it. We'll make sure that you can evidence base it at level 7 and map it to what you need it to be to put in your portfolio as part of your assessment. So there's huge flexibility here for you to really get that learning of what you need as an individual, but also what your service and your line managers need. And this is your buy-in here for those line managers. What do you need to develop in your service? This could be your way in. So with any learner that comes on the programme, they will be wrapped around with the whole team for support. So they will have a mentor in practice. And part of our commission will also be upskilling these mentors, really supporting them to be able to deliver on their mentorship in this practice. So what does enhanced practice mean? How we can support them, their educator training, and they will be looked after by the university to develop their mentorship throughout this. You might also have other supervisors who might be within your profession or outside of your profession. And you will also have a profession-specific academic lead. That might be Peter, it might be Rona. You will link in with Gwen in terms of that wraparound support for your profession. And then you'll also have a learning development coach who will help you to support map across the programme and evidence what you're doing. That's Sophie, who is our apprenticeship expert. And then your line manager will also be involved as well as that whole 360 sort of wraparound for you as a learner. So thinking about what you will be at the centre of this, everything you learn on the programme relates back to you and your practice in your service. So absolutely, clinical practice is at the heart of what you'll be doing. But you also need to be an educator of yourself and others, okay? And that needs to be embedded in your clinical practice. You need to be a leader, and we need P&O leaders. We need to champion your profession. So you need those leadership skills and those managements. You might be starting to develop services, improve services, lead in lots of different ways. So you need those underpinning skills. And then you also need the research to be an evidence-based, best practice clinical person, and to underpin with evidence-based and be an evidence-based practitioner. So all of those pillars don't work in isolation. They all work together to feed into your clinical practice. And this gives you real tangible skills to embed your career and help move you forward. So I'm going to keep that really short and sharp now. Hopefully we've given you the highlighted facts. I'm also going to put in the chat box some details that you can also use. There is a, I know that the guys have put in there some details of the options of the availability, but I'm also going to put in some details about some screencasts of this that we've done that you can watch, the email there, and some web links in terms of pages that you can search. So please access that in there in the chat. But I'm going to open it up the floor now. Back to Christabel. Put your hands up, switch your mics on. That, you know, there aren't a huge number of us, so please, you know, just let us. Any questions? How does this sit with people? What is there any questions you want to ask? How does this work for you?
Well, thank you so much for that. That was nice and really concise as well. Do we have any questions?
Don't be shy. No question is a silly question.
Of course. Just to also add, all right, we have Nancy. Nancy.
Go for it, Nancy. Go for it.
Right. So this evidence enhanced clinical practice, is it more like an online training, or you have to come physically to the training?
That's a great question, Nancy. So all of the mandatory components that we talked about, that first module of foundations in enhanced practice, all delivered online, flexible learning. And also the second module, which was the clinical module, again, the 3 mandatory days is all delivered online and flexible learning. It depends what you choose for your 5 days. Sometimes there are skills where you're going to need to come in and be face to face. Okay, so it depends what you choose. And some of them will be online. So the vast majority of it is delivered online. Okay, depending on what you choose, you could do it all online. You know, you might bespoke stuff that's in your workplace, and that's absolutely fine. You might do 5 days that are bespoke, and some students are doing that. There's bespoke skills in their workplace because that's what they need. But equally, there are some sessions that we were offering as part of that clinical module, the second module I talked about, those 5 days, may be face to face, but that's up to you to choose. This is flexible for you and what you need in your career pathway and development and what the service needs as well. So great question.
Right.
Vast majority online and flexible.
That's it. So a quick one. So how long does it take for this course?
For the course. Okay, so again, we're really mindful that we need to be flexible. So some people are finding it difficult to be released from practice. So we have developed a 12-month from start to gateway of the apprentice, 12-month programme. And we've also delivered and developed an 18-month programme. They're exactly the same, they're just stretched out a bit more. Okay, so it gives you options again to discuss with line managers, and that's where you need to get us in to have those conversations and talk about the nitty gritty and the weeds of it with your line managers. If there are any line managers on here, please flag to us. We're happy to have those conversations. But that's where we can be flexible in the programme delivery. So we've got a 12-month route and we've got an 18-month route, so people can choose what will suit them best.
Right, thank you.
Pleasure. So Gwen and Peter have put their details in the chat. Gwen is a prosthetist. Peter is an orthotist. They're really happy to help with any profession-specific questions. We've got Rona as well from Salford, but we've got that bigger team. So if you want to invite us in to speak to you on a one-to-one basis, if you want to invite us in to speak to your teams, your line manager, and it might be workforce leads, we're open to any conversations. We're happy to do these presentations again or have an informal conversation. Let us know what you need, and we're happy to do that. It can be online, we can come face to face. So let us know what you need. How is this sitting with people? Do you think it's needed? How do you feel about it? Anybody tempted to come on programme with us? Any questions that we can answer?
I probably will go because I mean we're talking about this already before the meeting started. So yes, I once I saw the program and I had a glimpse of what it was supposed to be, I was quite happy. I was like, oh, that's something I could go on.
Yeah. Christabel's signed up. We're getting Christabel on program. She's not leaving without signing up.
But again, I just wanted to find out from you and also probably get some feedback from the rest of the team as well in terms of funding. How else? So if you don't get the funding from your workplace, how else could you fund this?
So there is the route you pick. The apprenticeship levy is the pot that the government are trying to drive and NHSC are trying to drive because we're being driven through apprenticeship monies. We know that CPD monies are going to be drying up. So it's a fully funded apprenticeship. We know there's complexities with that with Wales and Scotland. So we are working through that about how we access it. You can access that through your company or if you work for the NHS. We can also look at gifting apprenticeship levies. So there are ways around these things. So there's lots of complexities in the funding. What we would say to you is if you're at all interested, get a chat in with us, get a meeting in with us and have that discussion. We've got apprenticeship teams who are really well versed in all the complexities of this and we can help answer those questions. With a great deal of authority. I'm going to let Peter come in now. Thanks, Peter.
Hi, Louise. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, just picking up on Christabel's question. So the mechanics of funding are the same as for the Derby course. With it just being a 1 year, 18-month programme, the cost is a lot less for the education, but it should all be covered by the levy. So I know, Christabel, you work at South Tees. That hospital will pay into the levy. And so they should have funds available to cover that. So that would be the mechanics. And equally, if you work for one of the larger P&O providers, you would also be able to draw down on the levy. The way it works is they have to put so much into a fund and then they can draw down on that for education. If, however, you work for one of the smaller providers that Louise mentioned, gifting, that's where you would potentially go to. So if you were working in York, for example, you might say, I've got an orthotist that works in York. The company doesn't pay into the levy because they're not big enough in terms of the size. So there's a strict cut-off in terms of how much salary you pay in. But it would be highly likely that York, where that particular orthotist was working, would allow the orthotist to be gifted the levy, because the levy basically is, there's in all organisations, there's more money than is needed. And that was always what Derby said to me when I was involved in finding funds to cover an apprentice on that programme. So I wouldn't see that as being an obstacle for anyone in employment in England.
Okay, thank you.
Get in touch, people. Gwen.
Beautifully said. So there's some complexities around whether we could use the equivalent apprenticeship levies to access, but obviously there is that PGCert route and there are other ways of doing that. We're still looking into some of the options, but again, if you're in one of the devolved nations, feel free to get in touch and we'll look through it with you. But also just the fact we talk about apprenticeship and everyone sort of goes, well, it's for like that early career, but it doesn't have to be. We've got people lined up to interview and it's incredible. We've got somebody, I think, roughly 20 years in the job and scored themselves quite lowly across all of the pillars that weren't clinical. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're 1, 2, 3, 4 years out. We've got people that are much further in their careers going, I want to advance here. I've forgotten how to do that skill. I've lost it somewhere, or actually I just need a refresher. Things have changed so much. So at this point, especially, it's a much wider reach than you would normally expect for an apprenticeship route. And it's obviously a PGCert. You can go towards things. If you're interested in doing a master's later, you can use it towards that. It's that recognition of prior learning, or towards a PhD, or whatever you want to do. This is all just about basically empowering you to get where you want in your career and provide that structure and a little bit of guidance, a little bit of support to get there. Because we know across the country, there's significant differences depending where you work on what's currently possible. but we also know the difference that one person can make in certain places, as long as they've got that support and that knowledge behind them, which is what we're here to do.
Yeah, that's really well said, Gwen. Well done. So I think that, you know, the real point here is reach out. If you're interested, reach out, find out more information, you know, get in touch with us. I'm going to put the information in the chat again, but just reach out to us and make sure that you can integrate us with your line managers, your teams, so that we can have those conversations and use our expertise at the university to help you with accessing funding and so on and so forth. You know, and if you're not quite sure, is it for me, is it not for me, again, just I would implore you to get in touch. We really need you guys to get on the enhanced practice bus. We need to land this for P&O. We absolutely do. We need to champion prosthetics and orthotics as much as we can to make sure you guys are represented in this enhanced practice workforce. This can make a real difference to people's careers and career trajectories. It's a dip your toe in the water at postgraduate. And this is a fantastic opportunity now with this big team who are profession specific. You've got flexibility in what we're offering to really support you and handhold through. So just get in touch, drop us an email after this. You know, speak to me, speak to Peter, speak to Gwen. There's a generic email there. Those guys have put in their email details as well. Spread the word. We need you to get on this in mass. We want representation from prosthetics and orthotics. We need you on this bus with us. Can't do it on our own. So I'd implore you to spread the word, go and tell a friend. If everybody tells a friend, their line manager and so on, we'll get the word round. And there will be roadshows coming out, but that's beyond the start of the programme. So we've only got one starting date, that's September. If you want to action this and you want to get on programme for September, we want you on programme for September. You need to send that email tonight as soon as you've got off this. Get in touch with us. Let's get a meeting in, get this moving. The money's there, it's fully funded. Can't champion it enough. Juliet.
Yes, well done. Actually, I have a question. Thank you very much for this. So actually, I have a question. Actually, I'm a prosthetist and orthotist from Nigeria, and I got to hear this program from LinkedIn. I actually got interested, but during the course of this this program, I actually have a question, and my question is, as a Nigerian-based prosthetist and orthotist, how is it possible for me to get a full funding to partake in this? I don't know if you get what I say.
So I'm struggling. I don't know if anybody else heard some. I heard some of that, Juliet, but I'm struggling a little bit. So are you not UK based, and are you wanting to access the programme through other funding routes? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So if I've heard you correctly and interpreted that, you are not UK based, but you would like to access the programme.
Exactly.
So you would not be able to use the apprenticeship levy. You would have to fund that through CPD monies or yourself. But we are open to non-UK professionals. And we've just had a conversation with a physiotherapist who is actually working currently in Dubai. There are complexities with it, and we would need to look at what your work structure is and how you would access support. But I would absolutely say drop us an email and we will have that conversation with you, Juliet.
All right, thank you very much. I will.
Pleasure. Okay, so far we've got Juliet. Who else is joining us in September? Anybody else is this landing with? Any other questions, or you're thinking about your situation and you can't quite figure out what you need to do next? Peter.
Yeah, if there's no other question, just one point that might be worth taking away from what Louisa said. Just so, as Christabel's identified, one of the issues is the financial cost, and that really, if you're working in England, that shouldn't be a barrier to anybody. The other area where people may see an issue might be in the time required on the programme. But because it's an apprenticeship, the vast majority of the time will be placed on the job. So you can, if you're engaging with your employer and they might be sort of a bit concerned about the time that you would need to dedicate to the programme, I think you could reassure them and engage with the university in the way that Louise has described. But your initial conversation, there could be a lot of reassurance about a lot of the work that will be required will be on the job. So I'll be able to, in my place of work, doing skills that, and projects that sit in the workplace, but as long as they involve new learning, they will contribute towards obtaining the apprenticeship standard. So I think that's a really might be a helpful point to take into those conversations, and then convey some of that enthusiasm that Louise has been talking about with regard to our boss to your employer.
Yeah, good point, Peter. So the whole point of this is that we see workforce transformation, that we see changes in the prosthetics and orthotic workforce, that we champion leaders, and that will empower you to make changes in services. And that's what your line managers want. So this is about getting value for money. It's getting a professional who can really work across those 4 pillars, drive services, drive quality, and also embed really high quality patient-centered care. So this puts you in a good position for your career, but it also will have impact on the services that you deliver. And that's the message that you need to send back to your employer, is this can have real impact in real time as you go through the programme. You need to do a quality improvement. You need to do an audit. You know, that can be done on services at the time and show impact as you're doing it. So that's your selling point. And we know that there's real issues across all AHPs, but in P&O particularly. So this will help with workforce retention as well, because we're structuring career pathways and helping people to really not leave the profession and go elsewhere, but really embed their skills. And we know we need you guys for our populations. You are invaluable to what our populations need, you know, and this is all over the government's new plan. If you've heard of that on the news, you know, embedding, practice into communities, so changing services and making sure we're going out into communities. It's embedding analog to digital, so again empowering you guys to ensure you're delivering services in the right way, and looking at treatment to prevention. So again, you know, you are, and us as AHPs are in an absolutely prime position, and we need to make the most of this commission, the most of the team. So I'm imploring you, spread the word, copy and paste that, get the email in tonight when you get off this call, and get in touch with the team. Look how lovely Peter and Gwen are. You want a conversation with them.
One question popped into my head just now, and I wanted to ask that as well. In terms of how you said we will tailor our learning, especially with the profession-specific modules, would that be something you need to discuss with your line manager first, and like come to a consensus of what does the service need versus what you need?
So that will be a joint conversation. So basically, you as a learner can't just pole off and go, I want to do this, this, and this. It's got to be in conjunction with your line manager. So when you show an interest in the programme, when you come and meet with us, with Peter, with Gwen, we'll have that conversation and go, okay, what does this look like for you? What does it look like for your service, and what does that shape like? So some of that stuff that you will be learning, that everybody will be learning, the leadership, the education, and the research, that will be applied to your area of practice. So we might teach you the core fundamentals of critical appraisal tools, education, but you will be then applying it to your workplace. You're doing clinical audit, PDSA cycles, leadership, you'll be applying that to your workplace. So that will be directly back into your workplace, and you'll see the implications in your workplace, and so will your line manager. The flexibility is in the bespokeness of that clinical module, where it's up to a discussion between you, your line manager, and us, and we'll have that when you apply for the programme. So that doesn't all need to be battened down at this point. I would just say the first thing is have the conversation, see if it's a goer, get your manager on board. And if they're not on board, say, can you come and have a conversation with me, with Peter and Gwen and the team at Salford? It looks like a great offer. We really need to, as a service, take advantage of this opportunity.
Great, thank you.
Is that all right? I think I've done my hard sell now. If nobody's noticed, we want you to get on board with this.
Thank you so much, Gwen. That was a good sales speech, and I think that most people on the call will know that this is the opportunity they have, and September is the start date. I'm enthusiastic, so I'm going to do that email today as well, and hopefully get a go ahead. Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. With the absence of any other question, we will call it a night. Like I said, this will be made available on YouTube and for anyone who wants to actually watch it. And I'll try as much as possible. I know we have about 12 people who came on the call today, but we had about 50 registered. So I'll send all the information in the chat to all the 50 people who registered, just so that they kind of have that in their emails. Right. And to the rest of the team who came today, Gwen, Peter, thank you so much as well for all the comments, questions and support.
Brilliant. When will it go up on YouTube?
By next week, Monday.
Okay, brilliant. I don't know if you can put our screencasts up as well. That might be, that's a better maybe articulation, and happy to do frequently asked questions as well. I know we've done those previously for BAPO, but again, if there are things that you're not sure about, just get in touch. Thanks so much, everybody.
No problem. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Thank you.